Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio. You're here live with Lavonne. Happy to be here with you all. Hoping to connect with our scheduled guests for the evening. Planning to speak with two lovely ladies who are protesting / raising awareness / educating the public on a walk through Maryland. Their names are Kim and Erin. They're planning to walk 313 miles along Maryland's waterways to celebrate and protect our water by supporting the statewide fracking ban. So, ladies, if you're able, please call me. We really want to talk to you about your cause, and we want to support you by telling our audience what it is how fracking hinders our ability to have access to water. So, we hope to hear from you. They're going to plan 5 to 7 major stops where they're going to host or participate in creative community events. Fracking is slang for hydraulic fracturing. It's the process of injecting millions of gallons of water, carcinogenic chemicals, and manufactured sand into the ground to fracture the shale basin and release gas. Some of their concerns, based on hundreds of studies showing the negative impacts of fracking on human health and the environment, include, but are not limited to, contamination of groundwater, methane pollution and its impact on climate change, air pollution. Hey, there she is. She's, sorry, our guest is messaging us, so pardon me while I message her back. I'm going to add her to our call here. Let's see here. Add people to this call. Pardon me, guys, while I get our friend on the line here. I'm so excited to talk to her. So, let's see. All right. So, let's see. Let's add her to our group call. We're going to be joined live here by Miss Erin. So excited. Hello.
Hello.
Erin.
Hey.
Welcome to the Anti-Media Radio, sweetheart. How are you?
Thank you. I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm so excited to be talking to you.
I'm really
great.
Thank
you.
Yeah. This is pretty beautiful. It's like so my heart is warm to hear your voice.
Likewise, dear. I was just reading your GoFundMe to our audience, talking about your concerns. Do you mind if I finish going through that list with them?
Absolutely.
I was just telling them about the air pollution impacts, exposure to toxic chemicals, blowouts due to gas explosion, waste disposal, large volume water use in water-deficient regions, fracking-induced earthquakes, workplace safeties, infrastructure degradation, socio and economic impacts. So you guys are going to take a walk starting October 15th.
Yep. We are doing it.
I'm excited for you guys. Your page is trending and people are donating, which is wonderful. If you guys want to donate, it's GoFundMe.com/WaterWalkMD. So check out their page. And how did this come about, Erin?
For me, it's funny because Kim and I were both having a similar intuition about like this, like doing some type of like walk. For me, I was having a conversation with a friend about, just life, and this concept of walking the waterways came up. And like, in Maryland, the C&O Canal, it runs up and down the Potomac River. And like, since I was living in San Diego and I moved back to Maryland 2 years ago, which, like since coming back home, connecting with the Potomac River, and just recognizing the reality of what's going on, and what's in Maryland, like there's the potential for fracking for hydraulic fracturing to start happening in Western Maryland. The regulations have just been released by the Maryland Department of the Environment this week. And so starting in January 2017, the Maryland General Assembly will decide whether to ban fracking, which is what the community is organizing and creating, and that's what this walk is really about. It's about connecting that movement by celebrating and honoring water, and recognizing the necessity of doing that by banning fracking in this state, and preserving our water through connection with, like with the government legally, and like having that safety and that protection for, because we're on a precipice, it's like we have amazing fresh clean water. We're so blessed to be one of the states that isn't fracking in this country, because there's it's a big boom happening right now. And it's really interesting for me personally to be learning more about the reality of what the industry is, because it's not just hydraulic fracturing. This ban is what initiates more conversation around what the fracking industry is, and how it's affecting our communities, and how we're choosing to create energy in this country. And energy, it's, they say it's independence, but to me it's really, when you're depending on a finite resource, that doesn't sound very independent. And when we really recognize what's happening, what's going on in these relationships, the reasons why this industry is coming to our communities, it's not for community benefit, it's for profit, and it's for gain, so having this awareness, learning what these relationships are, I think is what's going to create the support that the communities need to find ways to make changes in their lives, and to hold to hold things accountable, and for us as customers and consumers, and for us as humans and individuals in a community. And that's, for Kim and I, the woman that I'm walking this walk, the water walk, 313 miles across the state of Maryland, starting October 15th. We're walking for a month. And for me, it's about the movement. Hey, Kim. Right? Yes, welcome. Kim is, she is here. Welcome. Yeah, so
Hello.
I was just explaining a little bit about the water walk. So Kim is here as well.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, Kim. I'm Lavonne. Thank you so much for everything you're doing and for joining us.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late. I was promoting us at the local pub and singing with a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this, dear. You're right on time.
Right on time.
Yay!
So
yeah.
Okay. Pretend I don't know anything about fracking. Why should I be concerned with it, dear? Like, what is it, and why does it matter on the larger scale?
Well, we'll start with water, because that's what we're walking. So when we hydraulically fracture, we take anywhere between 3 to 5 million gallons of fresh water, and we inject a 1 to 2% chemical mixture into that water, which sounds like a small amount of chemicals because it's only 1 or 2%. But chemicals are more so viewed in the science eye as parts per billion. So when you look at it that way, it's pretty toxic. And these chemicals are made up of carcinogens, which like benzene and other
formaldehyde.
A lot of and a lot of byproducts from petroleum.
Like cleaning practices?
Yeah, cleaning. Well, just a lot of chemicals that are claimed to be lubricants and all kinds of rock melting chemicals that we inject into the water and permanently destroy that water to then shoot into the earth. So the practice itself, we drill down about 7,000 feet to what here in Maryland would be Marcellus shale. And this is a stone that is full of methane that when we drill down to that level, we can then it's like amazing technology. We've created a drill that can go horizontally. So it goes down vertical and then turns and goes horizontal. And we shoot off various I'm sorry. We shoot off depleted uranium to fracture the Marcellus shale. And so after we fracture it with the explosion, which is uranium, we depleted uranium. We then shoot down this chemical mixture, this water, that is full of silica sand. And so that sand holds open the fractured Marcellus shale, and the gas slips out. And so one of my biggest concerns is that we're using, and what ends up happening is the methane shoots out really, really fast. And to the point where at the beginning of this gold rush, maybe we'll call it, we were burning off about 30% of our natural gas because it was coming out so fast that we had no way to collect it all. Now, the industry has slowed down quite a bit now, and it's just not profitable at all to burn off 30% of your gas that you're supposed to be collecting. So now we've slowed down quite a bit, probably because the price of gas has lowered. And to answer your question of like why you should be concerned, is there's only 0.001% potable water on the planet, and that 3 to 5 million gallons of water that we inject into one well in one fracture is permanently destroyed. It's never ever put back into the system of water where it flows downstream into the ocean and then evaporates and rains down and just keeps going into that cycle. This toxic slush is injected into the earth and we never see it again. And in fact, it causes earthquakes in places like Oklahoma, where we see a 900% increase in earthquakes just due to injection wells where we place this fracking brine because we simply don't know what to do with it at this point.
Right, yeah. So come the fracking procedure, you're using these 3 to 5 million gallons of water every time that you do it. And you can do it multiple times. And you're using this water. It's a water, sand, and chemical mixture. And so as Kim was saying, like a lot of the chemicals that we know of, the thing about the chemicals as well is the fracking industry, there's chemicals that they've disclosed and chemicals that they haven't disclosed, and they're legally allowed to withhold some of that information. So we're actually not even completely aware of what is going into a fracking well, but what we do know is that when this water, once all of this water is used in this procedure, The industry calls it produced water, and like and like another term that we've found around it is fracking brine, like because it's literally, this water is mixed with all these things, the
contaminants.
Yeah, the contaminants, and so it's like what do you do with that? What do you do with all of this leftover stuff that's very toxic? It's toxic to the environment. It's toxic to human health.
It's radioactive because of the depleted uranium that's used in the explosions.
And so, like Kim was saying, in Oklahoma, where they're doing a lot of injection wells, they drill straight down. It's a vertical well, and they inject all this water, this fracking brine, this produced water back into the earth, and then that's the procedure to take care of that. In Maryland, in the fracking regulations that have been released, their plan would be to have holding tanks. So it would just sit there, like this holding tank of like radioactive, like potentially explosive fracking brine.
Which we don't really know what to do with it yet. So they haven't really focused on that. I haven't even, the new regs just came out and they're hundreds of papers long, so it's still to be explored. But another really big concern that Maryland is not considering whatsoever, and our regulations do not make it so any of these fracking wells have a monitoring system on their air. So air quality is also a major concern because there's volatile organic compounds being released. There are small particulate matter, PM 2.5. There's, like she was saying, formaldehyde and benzene are being found in people's bodies and making people sick, and they're from the fracking wells. You look at John Hopkins study, which shows there's a 40% increase in premature births for women who live near fracking wells.
Yeah.
That's pretty large number, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What's that?
I say, yeah, exactly. I was reading similar facts to support what you're saying. Is we don't know what is going to happen to the people who are exposed to these chemicals.
Right. We're learning that. We are learning that. These studies are coming out. These Johns Hopkins studies have, it's within the last, few months, year, like that. We're finding, the earthquakes in Oklahoma, like that's been a spike. Within the last year, it's gone up.
I mean, it's been the last 5 years, but really it's been about 10, 15 years now that we've been fracking in the United States. And the studies are now really starting to show, and the EPA is being questioned for their findings on water quality. That, there's a lot of research that's starting to surface now, which thankfully in Maryland, we're fortunate enough that we haven't fracked, so we've prolonged our moratorium long enough to allow these studies to come out. And unfortunately, our neighbors, West Virginia and Pennsylvania, are where a lot of those studies are coming from. In California, where we're watering our food with fracking wastewater. And there's just a lot that we're it's that's starting to surface. And
so with the movement towards a fracking ban, when that opens the door for more conversation around sustainable solutions and around real infrastructure that's not going to endanger the people. Like, there's so much risk to this procedure, and there's so many other technologies that are so much more efficient, and things like permaculture is really a huge part. It's a huge piece of this. And so this conversation that we want to have on this water walk, talking to the communities, celebrating the water, discussing our options and what the needs are, in these individual communities, and how we can come together and how we can learn and grow and support each other. when we're really taking care of ourselves by connecting to our relationship with the environment and the earth and food and preserving our water and keeping our ecosystems healthy and clean and allowing these systems to thrive and be vibrant, like, it's amazing what the earth can do to heal itself.
And sequester carbon.
Yeah.
I mean, a big problem here is that you look at climate change, and if you don't believe in climate change, then look at acidification in the oceans, because the ocean is sequestering a lot of our carbon and a lot of what's floating around in the atmosphere, and that's a problem too. and so one of the big solutions would be to sequester carbon in the soil and plant trees, like Erin's saying, and plant
food forests.
Food forests and
ecosystem.
Yeah, diverse food systems that are perennial rather than annual, and focus on how we can feed each other while also sequestering carbon.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I love that you guys are talking about solutions, because it really is all kinetic, and it's important for people to be reminded of their place within that system. Because we're so quick to forget, aren't we? Isn't that strange and sad?
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes it can be really challenging to know what you don't know, but it's like when there's that when you can see that option and you can remember it and be supported in a community that's talking about these things, like, when we're working together, we have so much more potential, and, like, the human species is all about community. When together we thrive, and so really connecting the dots and, like, allowing that to happen by just slowing down and talking about what's going on and learning, because it's really, there's so much to learn. Like, for me, I'm learning so much about the industry and the impacts and where the fracking industry is impacting. There's 4 major stops on our walk across the state of Maryland. So we're starting October 15th at the Autumn Glory Festival in Oakland, Maryland. It's in Garrett County, the most western county of the state of Maryland, and it's one of the counties that the fracking industry is very interested in fracking and doing hydraulic fracturing. Again, digging down into the shale and releasing the methane and collecting that gas. And so that's the those are the first communities that would be affected by the fracking industry coming in with hydraulic fracturing. And so from there, we're walking through Western Maryland into Allegheny County, another county that's at high risk for hydraulic fracturing, to the C&O Canal through Cumberland.
And the C&O Canal goes right down the Potomac River.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start in Oakland, go up Georges Creek, which is this high-risk area for fracking, into Frostburg and help them with their ban effort, because it's a small town, college town that's really, really pumped up about this ban. And it appears that the legislators are afraid that the governor will disown them in some way if they try to ban fracking. So the town is trying to empower their legislation to protect them. And yeah, like Erin was saying, down the C&O Canal to Myersville, where there's a massive compressor station. And this is an interstate compressor station, so it's managed by FERC. And FERC rubber stamped this. The town had no choice. It was built about a year ago and was doubled in size that same year. And now it's a year and a half later, and they're trying to double it again. And so this town is really just feeling, man, we went to the meeting earlier this week, and it was so hopeless. The people went to speak to MDE and stated their facts again, and also stated that they felt hopeless, that they felt unheard, that they had horrible neighbors. They stated all kinds of violations that the compressor station was was not in alignment with in their regulations, and it was just and they've decided that the next best thing to do is ban fracking, because that means less compressor stations for less towns, and they've really faced some serious impacts from this. The compressor station is less than a half a mile from their elementary school, and then from there we head down into DC, and we hit up Brandywine, Maryland, where there's a 990 megawatt natural gas power plant being constructed or really planned out right now, along with 2 others. So Brandywine will be surrounded with 3 natural gas power plants. And again, it's a lot of air pollution, VOCs, PM 2.5 that this underserved community has to put up with. And then from there we go down into Cove Point. And Cove Point is where Dominion has built a natural gas export refinery and export facility. So all across the state, people are starting to raise awareness and really understand that fracking is more than just hydraulic fracturing. Fracking is more infrastructure. It's more pipelines. It's more just intrusion into our communities and helplessness and
really taking and it's not just like taking the resources, but it's like literally toxifying them to a point where they're like, it's consistent. This concern around air quality in each of these places, the compressor station's already there. Like that, the impacts of fracking, that compressor station, this is fracked gas that's getting, the compressor helps to compress the pipelines to keep the gas flowing. These pipelines, the interstate pipelines, so it's moving through different states. It goes up and down through. There's
until it goes into Leesburg.
Yeah, and so the impacts of that are already in our community. That's already happening in Myersville. But again, in terms of air quality control and like really monitoring, that's not really happening there. The monitor is 12 miles away in Frederick.
They monitor based on counties, not towns. So it really, the town is just
right. So it's like
completely covered in smog, but the air quality monitor is 12 miles away, where it dissipates a lot of the problem.
There aren't, right. So it's like what's already happening in this community is that there's already these setbacks, like these things that aren't being considered and taking and happening for these members of the community. And so as we're learning about this, we can really start to understand like all the these different impacts, that it's literally from fracking well to an export facility where all of this gas, so like Kim was saying earlier, the market isn't really great right now for gas. The prices are down, right? So if they frack a whole bunch and get as much gas as they can right now, and just instead spend all their time building all this infrastructure and building all of this all of this opportunity to export, they can sell the gas to other countries. And so this fracked gas that, this big fracking boom that's happening in the United States, the gas isn't going to stay here. Like their intention is to sell it in India, China, Japan. It's going overseas, and it's not going to be here for the American people. But again, what's going on in these communities? Myersville, where the compressor station is, was sued by Dominion. Again, this is a Dominion subsidiary company that owns the compressor station, and they sued the town in order to build it. They asked for a permit from the Maryland Department of the Environment, and they were sued. And so now it's like, what are the repercussions of that? This industry has so much money and so much power in terms of how to regulate this, how to manipulate this system. These regulations aren't working. Like these considerations, there's not considerations for the air quality of the people of these towns and communities. And that's just one aspect of it, the water, like all of this stuff. So why should we be subject to this industry, polluting and taking all of this precious resource that is finite. Again, it's the systems the natural systems and rhythms that we depend on. It's having a lush forest that has multiple different types of nut trees and fruit trees and all of these herbs and lots of different and lots of different animals and mushrooms, and this whole system that's happening to keep it alive, to keep everything alive and flowing.
I think a big point to be made here is no matter what regulations we put on hydraulic fracturing, we are human and we will make mistakes, and there are air emissions, there are all of these things, water, socioeconomic impacts. It will happen. It will happen. And the only way to really regulate and control and protect the people and the environment is to not allow it to come and prevent it fully.
Exactly.
And
to
just
ban it. Yeah.
So yeah, I think a lot of the farmers around here were sold a bill of false deeds. The landmen came around to these, average 60-year-old farmers who are ready to retire, and they're tired, and they're a lot of them are farming monocrop with petroleum-based fertilizers and pesticides, and use petroleum-based tractors to move around, and their connection to the earth is not the old MacDonald that we envision farmers to be. And like I said, they're tired and they're not making a lot of money. They're leased out to Monsanto.
Right.
And so when these landmen came around and told them that they'd have enough money to retire and leave, and not farm anymore, not work this way, they took it, and so a lot of these people around Garrett in Allegheny County, they're just tired, and they're ready to take the money and leave. And I don't know. I just think a lot of these people don't have time to educate themselves because they're working so hard. They want to believe what the landmen told them about how easy it is to make this money. They just sit back and they'll get free gas and they'll get paid such and a check every month, and they look at their friends in Pennsylvania, and a couple people have cashed out. And I have sympathy for them, but I also I just request that they educate themselves and really understand what they're leaving to their children. A lot of these people are fifth generation farmers, and they don't understand what this means. And they want to pass this, a farm on to their grandchildren, but if they frack it, there's nothing there. It's hollow. A lot of the air particulate matter lands on their ground and contaminates the soil. A lot of these fracking wells, the wastewater leaks off. You'll see industrial waste violations all over the country. Frack Tracker is a great resource to look at where wells are, where injection wells are, where violations are, where permits are. And there's so many resources out there. If you want to know about fracking, you can just type it in Google, and you'll find plenty of evidence to why this is not a good idea.
Yeah, if you are looking for resources, we have a pretty solid list of stuff that you can check out on our GoFundMe page. It's GoFundMe Waterwalk MD, and at the bottom, we really want to have a conversation around fracking and learn about it, and have opportunities for the communities to learn about it together. And so, yeah, we really invite you to check out some resources. Frac Tracker is on the GoFundMe. And yeah, it's, these are really some of those Johns Hopkins studies are also on our GoFundMe page. And, it's really important to learn about this and to understand how this is, how this is going on. Because, in Maryland, what I'm realizing is it's, the fracking impacts right now, like fracking isn't here yet, but there's a lot of infrastructure that's really on its way. The compressor station is here. There's an export facility being built here. There's natural gas power plants that are being proposed. There's more pipelines. There's a pipeline through Hancock, Maryland that's being proposed. So there's a lot of infrastructure push by the industry as well as fracking, so it's like, if fracking is legalized in this state, it's going to be really, it's the entire thing, all of it's coming, but if we can if we can really ban hydraulic fracturing and pulling the gas from the shale in our communities and really keep them safe in that way, we can start looking at the infrastructure more, and we can start finding definitions on how to keep our communities safe around that.
So a big part of this, like you were inspired by, was the solutions, and
I do have a question about that too.
Mm-hmm.
Just to bring up the alternative point of view is, and a lot of people who are pro fracking, they state that they're doing this so that we can have an alternative source of fuel. And in my logical mind, I would think that one positive is definitely outweighed by all the negative effects of fracking. But the question is, what can we do to operate within the system and within harmony of our ecosystem that already exists, but obtain a natural fuel source? And what do you think the solution to that would be?
Well, to begin that conversation, I think we really need to localize our energy sources. Energy being fuel for our power lines and our cars, but also our food. So our food infrastructure also needs to change, which is heavily powered by petroleum in multiple facets.
Right.
So one thing that I'm a farmer out here in Friendsville, Maryland, Garrett County, where this is all being proposed. And a lot of my energy is going to ban this procedure, but also find these solutions so we don't have to frack. And some friends of mine in town and I have formed a committee under our town council called FREE, the Friendsville Renewable Energy Effort. And we are working with professors and state legislators to and the building code peoples and to configure a renewable energy source for our town. Mind you, our town is population, 500, maybe 550. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so it's it's a little easier on this scale than maybe a larger town, but I could be wrong. I don't know. So our effort has created a means for our municipalities to go fully solar, so that the town can pay the same electric bill, but it would go to the loan versus the bill collector or the electric company. And the next effort is to install natural gas biodigesters on farms so that they can put their cow poop, their invasive species that they pull out of the earth, like multiflora rose or any of these weeds, they can, or even the our poop, we can throw into these biogas digesters and create our own natural gas. And also we can produce really nice compost from these systems. So in our town, we ship our poop. Well, first we poop. It goes in pipes to our water facility. And then we truck our poop up the mountain to a water processing system that then, cleanses the poop, separates the water and the poop, and it puts it back in the river that floats downstream, and that's where our water comes from. So it really doesn't make sense that we're putting our poop right upstream from us. And so when we could be making our own electricity from it, natural gas from this stuff. So yeah, it's just a matter of having these conversations in our communities and showing up for our communities and creating committees under our town councils and city halls to push our legislators to make their own energy and empower themselves to make a better choice around energy production. And it sure is an investment, but there are incentives. And if we organize, we can and do it locally. I think it's possible. But if we keep waiting for some giant industry to produce our power elsewhere, then we're subject to that system.
We're all fracked.
And so most importantly, though, I think we must turn back to the earth. We must engage in our food, because most of what we do in our life is make money so we can buy food and have shelter. And that food is not being sustainably produced. Our food is destroying our watersheds and creating dead zones in the ocean. We spray these petroleum-based products all over our monocrop fields. It destroys the soil, it kills the soil, so nothing can live in it except for these genetically modified seeds. And it runs, we have a lot of erosion and runoff, and it goes into our streams, and our streams, rivers, and oceans are full of petroleum-based herbicides, fungicides, pesticides, nitrogen, it's destroying water, again, which we only have 0.001% potable water on the planet for us to drink. So, again, it's just such an incredible lifeblood that we have somehow come to accept to destroy, and so I keep coming back to permaculture and how important it is that we engage on a weekly, if not daily, practice with the earth, where we go out and pick our food, and we go out and we plant trees with our community, and we localize our systems, our food systems. We show up for our communities and help people who need help, rather than outsource the help.
And that's what this water walk is. This is slowing down and showing up for these communities and offering these solutions, offering this learning, this connection, hearing people empathizing, really getting being compassionately aware of what the reality is, in our communities, and invite people to better solutions. Walking the waterways to find a better way, because those options are out there, and it's literally just coming back to our natural practices of taking care of, of taking care of the earth and taking care of our food systems and
each other.
And
it's really uncomfortable, because it means that we have to turn off our TVs. It means that we have to turn off our lights. And it means that we have to change our practices of consumption so that we're more aware of what it actually means. And it's really important that we empower each other to make things, rather than go out and buy something from Walmart because it's $5, and that's easier than just making it yourself. But it's getting back to living for the doing rather than the having, and enjoying that with your friends, and practicing that, and it's
doing what you love.
Yeah, but it's funny because, like, it's really hard. People, we're all really different, and we we don't always all get along. Yeah. And so it's really uncomfortable to reach outside of yourself to go and show up for your communities. But once you start engaging, it's so rewarding. And
my life coach likes to call that space fun, comfortable. And like, I feel like that's really something to be, like, I feel like that's like a really, it's a fun correlation for me, especially with the water walk, like that this isn't a comfortable subject. This isn't something fun to talk about. It's scary, and it's very easy for us to disconnect. The reason why these regulations go through and these problems become problems, it's because the regulations compartmentalize this thing that's happening. The fracking industry, it's a whole. It's just as dynamic as the natural the natural cycles. It's all of these things work together, whether they're working with us or working against us. And so, like, we can't compartmentalize this stuff anymore. We can't compartmentalize each other. Like, we have to be dynamic, and we have to be inclusive, and we have to see the bigger picture. We have to really be willing to work together in community.
And we have to be aware of the consequences of our consumption, which is huge. It's really interesting how fracking has brought this in our faces. Whereas we usually exploit the third world, and they have to deal with the economic and environmental collapse, whereas we get to just turn on the lights and enjoy our cheap plastic goods for a month or two and throw it away, and not have any awareness around the impacts that has on the rest of the world. And so fracking, what's interesting about fracking is that it's brought it into our own backyards. It's brought it into the white man's land. It's brought it so much. These consequences are so much more visible. Yeah. And for that, I'm grateful that we're starting to really learn more about what it means to live this way. And I'm also really grateful for the people who are showing up, the people who are educating themselves and taking action. They're the type of people that I want to know. We're working together to really find a way. So
you guys have taught me a lot about fracking, and I can't believe that we're almost out of time. I wish I had 2 hours tonight. Please remind people of how they can connect with you guys and join you and support you on your walk. And I would love to follow you guys on your walk. You can call me at any time, and we can talk about whatever. But yeah. Please keep us in touch. We've got about 10 more minutes if you want to remind people of how to be in touch with you.
Yeah.
So please do so.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lavonne. Thank you for helping us share this story and just connecting more. This is about connecting community, and so I'm really grateful to do that. So if anyone is interested in joining us on the water walk, if they want to get in contact, want to support us, Facebook, if you want to connect with us on Facebook, it's Water Walk Maryland is our page. www.facebook.com/waterwalkmd. Our GoFundMe page is another great way to get in contact with us, to do if you want to get, again, more of your own research and like have a resource to look at and check out some different studies. If you want to check out Frack Tracker, If you want to see some YouTube videos just about some of this different infrastructure, if you want to learn more in general, you can contact us on Facebook, or our GoFundMe is also Waterwalk MD. And our walk begins October 15th. It's going to be a month long. We're going to be ending on November 14th or 15th. We start October 15th at the Autumn Glory Festival in Oakland, Maryland, where we are going to be parading. Kim and I are actually going to be dressing up in costume, and it's going to be, this water walk is really a performance. It's, there's so much art and music and celebration and community gatherings and new moon ceremonies and pumpkin light vigils, and there's going to be talks and carbon sequestration talks and permaculture action days, and, there's going to be Josh Fox films, and there's going to be so much happening. So much is going to be happening on the parades, and lots of costumes.
So we know we can't house a lot of people along the way, so we're asking people to join us at these events, mm-hmm. and to join us for day hikes when they can, and really start engaging in their own communities, whether they're with us or not. And yeah, I guess we're also starting a website, which is not up yet, but it will be a blog that's connected to our GoFundMe and Facebook. And I look forward to sharing the stories of the people we meet. Yeah.
So I'm going to just go over our route really quick. So again, October 15th is Western Maryland, Oakland. We're going to be marching in a parade. So you can come hold a sign in the audience or come march in the parade with us. Governor Hogan is going to be there. He's the Grand Marshal of the parade, and he is a big pro-fracker in the state of Maryland, and so we want to send him a very important message that the community members want to ban fracking, and that's what we're marching for. Kim is going to be dressed up as Spring Water, and I'm going to be dressed up as Fracking Brine, and I'm super excited to figure out what that's going to look like. I literally, Lavonne, I want to drench myself in coconut oil and just be dripping and chuckly and just I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it all comes together. From Oakland, we walk to Frostburg. We're going to be in Frostburg October 16th to the 18th. One of our events that we're going to do, to the 20th. One of our events is going to be a social media event. So this is something that you can do anywhere. And it's called Chalk the Water Walk. And so October 17th through the 20th, you can chalk any walkway in front of your house, in front of your business, maybe at a park or a school, wherever you can create some beautiful work of art with chalk. And then just take a picture of it and hashtag it and send it to our Facebook page. Waterwalk MD, Water is Life, ban fracking.
Yeah, decorate it in celebration of water.
Yes. So yeah, we're gonna do some other cool events in Frostburg,
and then we head down through Hagerstown into Frederick and Myersville, where we'll have another Halloween parade at this time, not a different parade, and we'll also be showing up at farmers markets and doing another carbon sequestration discussion there, as well as a new moon ceremony.
That's right, yeah. So today is actually the new moon, so happy new moon, Lavonne.
Oh, same to you, ladies.
Yeah, happy new moon.
A beautiful way to celebrate by talking about water.
Yeah. Let's put some seeds around that for sure. Loving our water. So on October 30th is going to be the next new moon, and we're going to have a really special ceremony in Frederick. So these events are on our Facebook page. Again, if you want to learn more, if you want to come, you can find more information on Facebook.
And then we go through Montgomery County, and we're going to do a tree planting and another carbon sequestration talk with some high schoolers. down into Washington, D.C., where we're trying to organize with some kayakers. I'm a whitewater kayaker, so I have quite a few friends who like to kayak Great Falls, and so they might kayak the falls for a cause, and then down into Brandywine, where we're looking to meet up with some friends and do another discussion there in Brandywine about power plants, and then Cove Point, where we're ready to get arrested, essentially.
We're ready to get a little.
It sounds like a really just there's a lot of tension down in Cove Point, just because the people there don't want this facility there, but yeah, there's a large police state there, kind of guarding this power plant, and we're interested in practicing creative, compassionate, civil disobedience, I guess.
I'd say, yeah.
And we're not quite sure what that looks like yet, but yeah, we're ready. So.
Well, I would love to be a part of it in any way I can. If not physically, please include us digitally. We would like to follow you guys, whether it's through checking with you guys live or having you call in whenever you can, or supporting you financially or physically. Please contact these lovely ladies if you guys have a way to do so. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. You guys taught me a lot, and I know you taught the audience a lot. Most importantly, how we're all connected, not only to each other, but this floating orb in space that we call home. And it's important not to be such a major consumer. I agree with that message entirely. And it's important to remember how to make things and not utilize so much energy, but get one. Thank you, ladies.
I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.
This is Ozzy Skateboard.